release control of the things that you cannot control. And with that, another Kaupen Daily Yap over here, and where I basically talk for 10 minutes and do not cut, do not edit, and then after 10 minutes, we just cut it off. So one thing that you will or may not hear in the background of this is some construction going on. And now it is fair enough that I could also just not record right now, and I could record in the evening when there's no construction going on, but maybe I actually wanted to do it, and I actually hope that there's going to be a little bit of a louder construction, at least for like a minute or so in the background, because one thing that you have to take a look at is things you can control and things you cannot control. It is an incredibly difficult thing to realize at first, but then once you get there, oh my god, because when you cannot control the situation, you should not even spend any time thinking about it. Now, to be fair, I could, let's say, go over to the construction workers and I can ask, hey, what is the schedule on the construction? And then I could be like, hey, okay, that's fine. I could then plan around that, things like that, yes. But then the question is, what did I do there? I said, well, I looked at the situation and I said, what is in my control? Well, it's not in my control whether or not the construction is going on. That is not in my control. And it's not even in my control when the construction is going on. However, what did I say then? Well, I can plan my schedule around it. Is it not necessarily optimal? No, it's not optimal. Obviously not. But it can happen. And I remember when I had the last course that I recorded. Basically, we had another construction going on near me, and that was rough, because basically I want to record, and then you get like, and it's just it's a pretty good reenactment. And it sometimes also is a little bit of a rough one, because in Germany they are allowed to start construction like that at 7 a.m. And yeah, the issue is if you had to shift the recording from usually just within the day to, later in the day, like 5 p.m. plus, and then you work a little bit later, and then you sleep until 9. Yeah, then the starting of the construction at 7 is that's a rough one. But that's the thing. You have to realize, okay, can I control this? No. Do I have control of this? Can I change the situation? And if you cannot change the situation, then there's literally, it is wasted effort to try and, find a solution, I guess, because there is no solution. There is a quote that is the Serenity Prayer. I think pretty good. Let's see. Okay, I wanted the one. This is it. I think this is good. Oh God, give us the serenity to accept what we cannot change, the courage to change what we can change, and the wisdom to know one from the other. I think that's good. A little bit of a more modern version, almost the same, right? God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Perfect. This absolute perfection. And it's a very stoic principle of putting your focus on the things that, I don't want to say matter necessarily, but that makes sense to that you can change. So I don't even know what examples might arise, but you could say, I want to work out more. All right, let's think about how we can put that into action. You could say, well, I have to work 10 hours a day. That is well, okay. Can you leave an hour early? No. All right, then it's 10 hours a day. That's fine. Can you shift the time that you work? Can you work later or earlier? No. All right, we also are going to discard that. Can I take 1 day home office in a week? Yes, I already have that. Ah, okay. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so on that day home office, could you take a break a 30-minute break and actually work out during that? Maybe. Could you, on that day, start work a little bit early and then just, once again, this is just a thought exercise, obviously. And then instead of showering in the morning, when you have the day in home office, shower after your workout. Thus, you start working a little bit earlier. Yet you basically catch up on the free time. Let's say after you've worked out. Okay, interesting. There's another thing that is that I just thought of when it comes to focusing on what you can do and what you can't do. If you think that there's a thing that you cannot, okay, this is a little bit of a different angle to it. So now I'm not talking about things that you can control and you can't control. Like you can control whether or not, I mean, heck, you can control whether or not the girl you ask out says yes or no. There's, I mean, not really. There's like some amount of control, obviously, but you know what I mean, right? So it's not, you really have to be okay with whatever happens there. But I do think we have more control over more things than we think about. And sometimes we vilify the things that we don't have control over in an unproductive way. So let's say, for example, let's go back to the idea of working out. I don't feel like it today. All right. Can you change how you feel? Now it's getting interesting. Can you change how you feel? Now you might say no to this, but I don't know if this is true. I think you can. And one thing that's crazy about that is workout might actually change the way that you feel as well to the better. So now we're getting into a very interesting feedback loop, right? Where you're like, I don't really feel like doing it, but I'm going to do it. Yeah, this once again might be a little bit more all over the place. But yesterday I heard a part of, I think it was in a short, and the person there said, use the difficulty. And basically what they said is, when something feels, when I don't feel like doing something, I try to break it down even more. And I try to break it down even more. And I try to break it down even more. Idea being, if the first step is too difficult, then it is too big. And then make it smaller. So you have to write an essay. Can you write a page? I'm not going to write a page today. Okay. Can you write 2 paragraphs? No. Can I write 1 paragraph? No. Can I write 2 sentences? No. Can I write 1 word? There is a 0% chance that you cannot at least write 1 word. If you only do 1 word, that is okay. Going back to the example of working out. Can you take the weight and can you do 1 bicep curl? I don't even, come on. Can you do 1 push-up? Maybe you can, but you know what I mean. Like if it's like do a set of 1, okay? Do a 1 rep, 1 set of 1 exercise. Can you do that? Now that is, you don't even need to be motivated to do that, right? Like that's just that. Of course. Can you do 1 body weight squat? Yes. Yes, of course. And then you're like, well, maybe I could do a second set where I do 2. And at that point, you're already 100% more than the previous one. So that's crazy. That's a big improvement. I don't know, something to think about. Something to think about. I think the breaking down of bigger things that you're unwilling to do into smaller things could be an interesting reframing exercise. Although I personally I haven't always used it to the best effect. Although I might just try this out. I might just try this out in the future. Yeah. But there you go. That's gonna be it for today's Yap once again. Pretty crazy. Hope you found this useful and you learned something new, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Until then.